Now, a lot of people don't know that you took part in the Battle of the Bulge, and you had a job that a lot of people wouldn't really envy. Can you tell me about that?
Well, we used to probe for mines, and there was a particular mine called an anti-personnel mine, called an S mine, that would aim for your private parts. I was a corporal, and I didn't want my private parts destroyed. So, I mean, I would probe very gently to make sure that this thing wouldn't spring up there and prevent me from having the 4 children that I've made in the interim. Anyway, I loved being in the Army. I loved being a corporal, and the food was wonderful. You don't know about my mother's cooking. I mean, if I tell you about my mother's cooking, then you'd say, "How did you like the food in the Army?" It was great. I love SOS, which is stuff on a shingle. I love beans. They didn't like me. I ate a lot of beans. I used it later in Blazing Saddles. Remember the campfire scene? I had a lot of fun there.
Okay. Well, let's skip forward to Get Smart. Now, how much pressure was there in the wake of all the James Bond films to come up with a parody about spies?
You know, there was also The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and that was a great one to satirize. They took themselves very, very, very seriously. And then there was Cosby, and had done an I Spy thing, and so these spy things between the James Bond, between I Spy and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and James, we were flooded. We were flooded with spy junk. And I met with Buck Henry, a great writer, who's the screenplay writer for The Graduate, which starred my wife, Anne Bancroft, as Mrs. Robinson. Mrs. Robinson, remember that? And so Buck Henry and I decided to write a show called Get Smart, starring Maxwell Smart, starring Don Adams, and the rest is history. I mean, we did it for fun. We never thought it would catch on. We invented this crazy cone of silence, the shoe phone, all of this insanity, and now it's on everywhere,
Now, with Blazing Saddles, one of your collaborators on that was Richard Pryor. Now, when you guys were writing that, did you sit around thinking, okay,
You want to stop and get?
Stop tape, please.
Yeah. Okay.
We have speed.
okay. Mel, with Blazing Saddles, one of your collaborators on the script for that was Richard Pryor. Now, when you were writing that, did you ever sit around thinking, what are the critics going to think about this?
No, because if I said to myself, what are the critics going to think about this? I never would have had the guts to do all of the outrageous, foolish, stupid things that I did with Blazing Saddles. So if you think of anybody but pleasing yourself, if you don't want to please your mother, your wife, your children, you don't want to please critics, you don't want to please the audience, you just want to please yourself. And if you really please yourself and you really laugh, they'll all like it. But if you sculpt it for them, no one will like it. You'll fall in between the cracks. You'll have a failure. So I always just do it for myself.
Now, with this film, I can't help but wonder what Richard Pryor is going to, or not Richard Pryor, what Kevin Costner is going to think when he sits down in the theater to watch it. What do you think his reactions might be?
Well, he'll love it until Carrie Elway says, unlike other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent. Then he'll do this for a second, and then he'll watch it again and be happy.
Okay.
He's got to be a good guy. I don't know him personally, but you could tell by his demeanor and his personality, this is a great guy. I mean, he's a terrific guy.
Now, how much time did you spend watching his version of Robin Hood and the Errol Flynn version before doing this?
Well, I've spent half my life watching the Errol Flynn version. I've seen remakes of it. I've got the video of it. I love Robin Hood. It's just like I loved Frankenstein. I made Young Frankenstein. I love Robin Hood, but I am very grateful to Kevin Costner for reawakening our feeling for the movie. He did a great job.
Now, you've had some incredible successes in Hollywood, and you've also had some films that didn't do as well. Over the years, have you ever been surprised at which of your films have done really well at the box office and which ones weren't as strong?
I've never been surprised, ever, because I knew when I made Life Stinks, it would have a limited domestic audience, and I thought it would have a big foreign audience, and it did. Did 19 million. I mean, it went through the roof in Italy and Spain and Germany and France, and it did just a limited run here, but I think MGM had run out of money, so they pulled it. They couldn't advertise it enough. It would have done a lot better. But Life Stinks was about people living in the streets. Nobody wanted to see that, even though it was funny. Didn't want the subject matter. But now I know this is going to be a hit because I've taken people to a better place. I've taken them to the 12th century. I've showed castles, swords, knights, horses, love, romance, pratfalls. I mean, I know they're going to love it. I know I could call this Blazing Sherwood. I know it's a winner.
Okay. And one really quick question: the domino scene in this with the suits of armor. Now, how difficult was that scene?
That took a week to devise, to dress, to set up. It took a week to get that. It only took a day to shoot it, but it took a week to get it ready. I mean, that was a tough one. And it's a brilliant, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it just worked beautifully, you know. The audiences love it. They cheer. They cheer when you know. Because how many times have you seen a movie in which you've seen 100 guys in armor, and you knew if one guy fell forward, you know, well, you knew you'd have a domino effect, you know. So we had the guts to do it.